Shamla ma'am?
Hi, yes ma'am.
Yes ma'am, you are audible. Can we start ma'am?
Yes ma'am, yes ma'am.
Okay.
Hope all join.
One by one they are
31
joining.
only joined, so shall we give 2 to 3 minutes time, ma'am?
A few seconds, they'll just
Yeah,
join.
yeah. So let them, I think there are 50 participants.
We'll start the session ma'am.
Yes. Uh, See, we are all dealing with the obstacles of yogic path. So I'll repeat again from the beginning. So first obstacle is vyadi. So the vyadi means disease. So if the disease comes in the mind, it is known as adi, and if the disease comes in the body, it is known as vyadi. So if you have some sort of mental disturbance or physical disturbance, it is an obstacle. Next is sthana, laziness. See, these are all the things we can find for everyone, not only for everything, not only for yoga. So the second one is dhyana. Dhyana means dullness, or not interested in doing yogic practice or anything, or studying or something else. Next is samshaya, doubt. See, what I will get if I do this? Will the yoga practice will give me good results, or will it harm my body and mind? So this is known as samshaya. Samshaya means doubt. Next is pramada, means procrastination. Procrastination means postponing things. So if you decide to do yoga by getting up in the early morning 4 a.m. Brahma Muhurta, means you should get up. See, there is one saying that there is a struggle between the alarm clock and yourself. See, you are keeping the alarm and the alarm clock rings, but you are shutting the alarm and again you are sleeping. See, there is a big struggle. See, you are awake, but you are not getting up and doing the thing. So you should not give importance to that. You should get up. If you practice this daily for 21 days, it will become a habit. If you do anything good or bad, if you do it continuously for 21 days, it will become habit. So this habit in Sanskrit, it is known as samskaras. So this is pramada. Next is alasya, laziness. Why I should do? No, let me lie down. What will happen if I don't do yoga? So that is alasya. Next is avirati. Avirati means craving for enjoyment. Okay, let me not do yoga. Let me listen to music, or let me watch television. Let me go to movie. Let me chat with friends. See, these are all craving for enjoyment. Next is Bhranti Darshana. That is, you are perceiving in your wrong sense. For example, if you perceive a rope as a snake, so that is known as Bhranti Darshana, that is erroneous perception, perceiving in a wrong way. Next is Alabdha Bhumikatva, means no steadiness, that is inability to achieve anything. So you're not putting your mind. So that's why you are unable to do it. And next is instability. So you can overcome all these antarayas. And you want to know what kinds of vriddhis you have. Vriddhis means modifications or distractions of our consciousness. So first one is right knowledge. That is called as pramanam. Pramana means, suppose for example, there is a smoke and you come to conclusion that the smoke is there because fire is there. So that is pramanam. Fire is there, so smoke is coming. So you are identifying the fire with the help of the smoke. That is called as pramanam. See, similarly, what the today's science is doing is pramanam only. That is experiment, observation, and inference. Next is viparyaya. That is misconception. Misconception. So you are understanding or conceiving something in a wrong sense. Next is vikalpa. That is your belief system is totally wrong. Next is nidra. That is different states of sleep. And the last one is smriti. So these are all the 5 kinds of vrittis. So all these can affect because of our consciousness. So now I will briefly explain how to overcome all these obstacles. See, you would have learned about yoga, pranayama, everything in your classes. But I want to tell you something different and which is very difficult for you to understand. Okay, so what are all the other associated obstacles? See, ஒரு கடைக்கு போனோம்னா ஒரு பொருள் வாங்கினா கொசுறு கொடுக்குற மாதிரி. See, for these obstacles, again, some more small obstacles. That is dukkha. If you have all the obstacles, you will have some sort of pain, some sort of discomfort. That is called as dukkha. Next is daumanasya, which means depression. See, if you're not able to achieve something, and if the things are not happening in your way, so you will get some sort of depression. And this dukkham and depression, it will lead to some sort of shaking in your body. The shaking may be internal or external. That is known as angame jayatva. Anga means parts of the body. Jayatva, shaking of your body parts. Next is swasha pashwasha. Swasha pashwasha means like that. Your inhalation and exhalation are very rapid, fast, shallow. So these are all the accompanying obstacles of the main obstacles. So now I will give you few points which are substantiated by Patanjali to overcome the obstacles. So number 1, concentration, ekagrata, one-pointedness. So you have to focus yourself towards only one thing at a time. You should not do multitasking. Next is you have to cultivate certain virtues. See, you have to cultivate certain good habits. So, for example, Mahatma Gandhi, he cultivated the habit of speaking truth. See, there is one advantage of speaking truth is you need not remember. If you speak lies, you have to remember in sequence. So that is the advantage of speaking the truth. See, similarly, Raja Harishchandra, he never lied. He always used to speak the truth. Like that, you have to develop virtues. So the virtues like speaking truth, punctuality, not harming others, like that. Next is by controlling the prana, by pranayama techniques, you can overcome all these obstacles. And you can observe your own body function. If you observe your own body function, you can find out what is wrong. Next is you can detach from the things which will make you to receive all sort of troubles. So you can easily identify. In Tamil, we used to call Dushtanai Kandal Dura Vilage. If you find some person bad, or some things are very bad, like cigar smoking, alcohol, tobacco chewing, you can detach from the sensual matters. See, they will give only the temporary happiness, but yoga will give you permanent happiness. Next, you have some knowledge about dream and sleep. What is sleep? What is good sleep? What is bad sleep? And what is dream and all? You should develop some good knowledge. Then you can cultivate meditation. So these are all the paths. They remove the obstacles. Okay. Now I will brief the Ashtanga Yoga. See, this Ashtanga Yoga is very important in yoga as well as in yoga therapy. See, in Ashtanga Yoga, you have to go step by step. See, without following the first step, you cannot go to second, third, like that. But nowadays, what people are doing without undergoing these steps, I came across many patients who are simply doing meditation. See, they are not following any yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, nothing. Simply they are doing meditation, and they are coming across so many psychiatric problems, psychological problems, and they are going to psychiatrists. They are popping up sleeping pills, etc., etc. So that it is very important to know the Ashtanga Yoga. See, Patanjali, he has described in detail in Sadhana Pada. I have told you already what is sadhana. Sadhana means pa. So he has given the, actually he has given the road for us, royal road. We can easily walk on that road. So first one is Yama. Yama means social discipline. Why social discipline is very important? First of all, we should not harm the society. That is why Patanjali put Yama as first and Niyama as the second. So the Yama includes, see, Yama is the self-restraints. What are the things you should avoid? Ahimsa, you should not injure anybody. Similarly, you should not injure yourself also. So Ahimsa means non-violence or non-injury. Next is Satya. Always you should be truthful to others, and you should be truthful to yourself. Next, Asteya. You should not steal. You should not steal others' property. Similarly, in yoga, you should not steal your energy for unwanted activities. Next is Brahmacharya, celibacy. That is, it is not that Brahmacharya is not only the sexual abstinence. It is abstinence from all the sensual things. See, you are watching mobile, and you are constantly watching the screen. So you have to restrict yourself, so from the visual objects. Similarly, you should not hear loud noise and all. Similarly, you should not smell very bad and pungent smell. It will be injurious to you. So all this brahmacharya, it is applicable to all the senses also. Similarly, aparigraha. Aparigraha means you should not grab the things from others. It is actually different from stealing. Stealing is taking things without others' knowledge. But parigraha means you are simply grabbing the things. For example, possessing excess of money or excess of property, or for example, during this COVID, we are going to provision shop and grab all the provisions, and we are not allowing others to see. This is also aparigraha, means non-acquaintance. So you should not possess not more than what is required for you. Next is niyama, means self-code and conduct. What you should observe, what you should follow. So the first one is shaucha, means cleanliness. Here the cleanliness is both external and internal. It is both physical and mental. Next is santosha. See, first of all, you will not get any problem if you are contented with what you have. But we are not contented. See, but there should not be no contentment in studies. But for the worldly and the sensual objects, there should be some contentment. Okay, we are getting 3 times food. Okay, we are having good clothes. Okay, we are having good house. Okay, but if you want to buy lot of houses, lot of properties, and this thing, see, you will not get contented. And you are buying one cycle, a two-wheeler, again car, and you are going for a BMW or something. So you will never be contented, and you will get a lot of stress, and through that you will develop a lot of problems. And next is tapas. See, tapas means penance, austerity. See, here tapas is applicable to students. That is why we are naming our degrees as Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Yoga, Bachelor of Yoga Therapy. Okay, so the word, see, we are actually doing tapas. We have to do tapas. That is, we have to focus. See, the focus is actually here mentioned as tapas. So if you focus, that is one pointedness, ekagrata. Next is swadhyaya. See, you are all studying about yoga, and our Dr. Ilangovan sir used to prescribe many books. So we can buy the books, or we can go to library, and we can do self-study, and we can do studies other than the classroom. Even one interesting thing I came to know about our former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. When he was a student, he used to discuss things with his professors outside the classroom, and he has learned so many things outside the classroom. And really, all these type of discussions with the elders, knowledgeable persons, it will enrich your knowledge. Swa means self, adhyaya means study, self-study. So you can study good scriptures or good books. So or you can listen to good music or discourses. All comes under swadhyaya. Next is Ishvara Pranidhana. See here, according to Freud, there are three things: the ego and super ego. See, you have to shed all your ego. How to shed all our ego? See, Ishvara Pranidhana. Ishvara means God. Pranidhana means total surrender. If you surrender everything to the God totally, you will not develop any ego, and you will not expect the fruits also. Then things fall in your place properly. So this is niyama. And next comes asanas. So first yama, niyama. If you follow both, then only it is possible for you to do asanas. So asanas, I want to highlight more things, because nowadays yoga class means asana, nothing else. See, throughout the world, the yoga means only asanas. So we have to enrich our knowledge in asana. Patanjali beautifully describes Sukham Stiram Asanam. See, asanam literally means posture or position. But you are making one posture, but it is not comfortable. It is painful. It is not steady. That means it is not posture. So yogasana means it must give happiness to you. It must give comfort to you, and it must be steady. Okay. See, the classification of asanas is very important, because you have to know the effects of asanas. See, without knowing the meaning and the effects of the asanas, there is no use in practicing asanas and teaching asanas. So we can classify the asanas based upon the starting position. So how we are starting? So we can classify the asanas as standing, sitting, pronasanas, and supine asanas. So you must know what the standing asanas will do for you. So first of all, standing asanas, it balances the body. So physical balance leads to mental balance, and it relaxes the mind also. So Tadasana is the beginning asana for all things. So the examples I can quote: Tadasana, Trikonasana, like that. Next, sitting asanas. What sitting asana will do? So sitting asanas, it will prepare your body, and you can sit in that particular posture for a prolonged time. See, without any discomfort or pain, or without any distraction. It relaxes your mind. That is why we are doing meditation only in sitting asanas like Padmasana, Siddhasana, Vajrasana, like that. And also it stimulates all the sitting asanas, it stimulates all the physiological functions of the body system. And also it stimulates all the vertebral muscles and nerves. You can do all sort of forward bends, backward bends, lateral bends, twist, anything with that. Next, prone asanas. What do you mean by the term prone? Prone means backward. So all the backward bends in the vertebral column, like Makarasana, Bhujangasana, Shalabhasana, Dhanurasana. So they are all prone asanas. They will strengthen your spinal nerves and muscles. Next, let us see the supine posture. See, actually, the supine posture is essential for all bodily movements in our body and also important movements in the vertebral column, and it gives sufficient workout to all the internal organs. Next, see, first classification is based upon the starting position. Next classification is based upon the effects. What are all the effects it is giving? Some asanas, they may activate you, like Surya Namaskar, I told you, the dynamic postures, similarly Bhujangasana or something like that. So they will stimulate, they will give you energy. So they are all called as energy giving asanas or stimulating asanas. So certain asanas, they will do balancing, they are known as balancing asanas. And certain asanas, they will give you some sort of relaxation, like Shavasana, Makarasana, like that. So we can classify asanas as first meditative asanas. See, meditative asanas, it relaxes your body and mind. For an extended period of time, you can sit without moving your body, and this posture enhances meditation. It keeps our vertebral column erect. Next is relaxative
Shamla, ma'am?
asanas. Yes?
In
Yes, ma'am?
another 5 minutes, can we open the session for doubts? It is getting 12 o'clock now.
Yes, ma'am. Let me complete
another-
at least this.
Because
I will complete this because I think it may require one more session, ma'am, because I want to teach something.
another 10-15 minutes in another
yeah,
session.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
let us finish this.
Okay.
How much time is left, ma'am?
In another 15 to 16 minutes.
Ma'am, I will try to finish as much as possible. See, third type of asanas, they are all cultural asanas. Why we are naming cultural means it cultures our body and also our mind. Again, the cultural asanas, they are class because you want to know the effects. So the cultural asanas are again backward bending, forward bending, spinal twisting, inverted asanas. See, backward bending asanas, actually we are turn the body out and we are facing the world. So by doing this back bending asanas, it is stimulating and it is giving energy. It expands chest, it increases circulation, it improves oxygen capacity, and also it stretches all the abdominal muscles. Similarly, forward bending asanas, actually it relaxes you. Forward bending asanas, it relaxes you because while forward bending, your head comes down and your brain is getting a lot of blood supply, so you are getting enough oxygen. So it is a sort of, it releases tension and it gives compression, it massages all the internal organs. Next is spiral arc twisting asanas. See, these twisting asanas, they are all very good for the spinal column because our brain communicates our body through the spinal column with the help of the spinal nerves. So it enhances all the twist, it enhances the pranic flow, and it has got a very good effect on the Manipura chakra. See, why it is called as Manipura? It is the jewel. Mani means jewel. So it is the jewel of the chakras. So where all the nadis, they are going and they are coming out, and it balances all the other chakras also. Next, inverted ox. See, what is the beauty of inversion is inverted asanas. See, we are keeping our body against the gravity and we are able to treat so many diseases. For example, constipation or varicose veins or something like that, dullness, laziness, anything like that. Okay, so these are all something about asanas. I will talk in short about pranayama. See, we doctors எங்களை வந்து கூப்பிடுவாங்க, யாராவது மேடம் வந்து பாருங்க உயிர் இருக்கா இல்லையா. ஸோ நாங்கள் எப்படி பார்த்து சொல்றோம், பிராணன் இருக்கு இல்லை பிராணன் போச்சு. So this prana, it is the life force. See, it is the vital force. See, you can live without food for 6 weeks, without water even for 6 days, but without prana, you cannot live even for a single second. So that is the beauty of the prana. So breath is life and life is breath. So by pranayama, we can become godlike. See, the basic aspects of pranayama is, pranayama has got three important aspects. You know, inhalation, exhalation, and retention. Actual yoga is not in inhalation and exhalation. Simple inhalation and exhalation, we can call it as breathing exercise, not pranayama. So what do you mean by the word prana? Prana, it is means life force. Ayama means expansion. Okay, so actual pranayama or actual yoga lies in kumbhaka. Kumbhaka means retention, retention of the breath. So the antar kumbhaka is the retention in between inhalation and exhalation. Bahir kumbhaka is the retention in between exhalation and inhalation. So the actual work is done only during kumbhaka while you retain breath. That is the basic difference between pranayama and breathing exercise. And there are so many things, that is ratios and so many patterns. Again, the pranayama we can divide into stimulating pranayama, vitalizing pranayama, neutralizing pranayama, cooling pranayama, relaxing pranayama. So according to the necessity, we can practice. See, next, pranayama only leads to pratyahara. See, without yama, niyama, asana and pranayama, you cannot go for pratyahara. See, what do you mean by pratyahara? Pratyahara means withdrawal from the senses. See, Patanjali defines pratyahara as the withdrawal of the senses from the sensory objects. See, for eyes, you should divert yourself from the attractive things. And similarly, you should divert yourself from the attractive and tasty food. It may be attractive and tasty, but it may not be good. See, you should always take sattvic diet. Always rajasic and tamasic foods are attractive for your tongue. Similarly, all in Tamil Kuttupattu, cinema songs, they are all attractive to your ears. But you should practice pratyahara and you should listen good music. See, that this is known as pratyahara, that is withdrawal of the senses from the sensory objects. Oh, now, the pratyahara, it leads to dharana. See, now we are controlling our five senses. So through the control of five senses, we can easily control our mind. So actually, dharana is going from outward to within. So dharana is, in simple words, it is nothing but concentration. Focusing only on one point is called as dharana. Next is dhyana. So dharana leads to dhyana. So in local term, dhyana means meditation. So you want to know, you should know the difference between what is contemplation, concentration and dhyana. Contemplation means diverted thinking. So you can think many things at a time. But concentration means thinking only one thing, one object or only one thought. Dhyana means no mind. You are free from the mind. Your mind is free and there is free flow. So that is known as dhyana. So dhyana leads to relaxation, internalization, and the expansion of our consciousness. And there are two types of dhyana, that is saguna and nirguna. See, first of all, saguna means with some seed or with some aid. For example, we can keep one picture of a deity or some symbol like that, Om or something else. By practicing suguna, that is with some aid, you can automatically go to nirguna. By practice, without the aid of anything, you can easily practice meditation. And finally, the state of samadhi, bliss, that is we are becoming godlyhood. We have attained the godlyhood. So that is known as samadhi. See, here what we are seeing, our eyes, the object, everything will become one and the same, and there is no difference between the seer, seen, and the object. Similarly, there is no difference between the knower, known, and the knowledge. So this is known as samadhi. And there is one thing which is known as, see, all the first five, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, they are all known as bahiranga yoga or outer yoga. All you can do with outwardly things, with your physical body. The last thing, last three, dhyana, the dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, it is known as antaranga yoga. This antaranga yoga is also known as samyama. It is also known as samyama. If you attain samyama, it is possible for us to attain even ashtama siddhis. And in yoga, there is one thing very important I want to stress: kriyas. Kriyas means cleansing or purification. But most of the places, they are not teaching and they are not giving importance to it. You can clean our body from head to toes. I am giving you the order. First one is Kapala Bhati. Kapala means kal, Bhati means shining. See, Kapala Bhati, it is both a Kriya as well as a Pranayama. So by doing Kapala Bhati, you can cleanse your brain and also your nerves. Next comes Trataka. So Trataka means cleansing our eyes. So by doing Trataka, that is constant, if you focus your thought on particular object, or if you focus on the light. So actually Trataka, it has got two types, Jata Trataka and Jyoti Trataka. Jyoti Trataka involves lamp. And if you focus on that, actually it stimulates your lacrimal glands, it removes impurities. Even we can, what to say, even we can remove glasses. So it is a must that we should, these are all easy techniques, Trataka. And next one is Neti. Neti means clearing the upper respiratory tract. See, upper respiratory tract is the gateway for the prana to enter in. If you have some obstacles in the upper respiratory tract, either in the nostrils or the thing, so your pranic flow, you cannot inhale proper prana and your pranic flow is obstructed. You can do this Neti two types. One is Jalaneti. By using water, you can clean your upper respiratory tract, and by using your thread, see, you can put thread into one nostril and you can take it through the mouth. So it cleanses all the air passages, it cleanses sinusitis. So this is about Neti. And next is Dauti. See, Dauti means clearing your upper gastrointestinal tract. That is, you are clearing your mouth, your throat, your esophagus, your stomach, and upper part of the small intestine. So what you have to do is simply you have to gulp 1 liter of warm water, and you have to massage your abdomen, and you can vomit the thing. So this is known as Jaladauti. Next is Vastra Dauti. You can simply swallow Vastra and you can take it out and remove it. But all the kriyas, it needs proper guidance from the guru. And next is Nauli. See, Nauli is nothing but, see, our abdomen, the important muscle is rectus abdominis muscle. So by making use of the abdominal muscle, we are massaging the organs. So it is of Madhyama Nauli, means we are massaging the central part of the abdomen. Then Vamana Nauli, that means left side. Then Dakshan Nauli means right side, or the entire churning of the stomach is called as Nauli Chalana. So this is also very good. And Basti, it is nothing but yogic enema. See, the Basti, it is of two types. That is, we are cleaning our colon. So we are cleaning our rectum, large intestine, and we are removing all the impurities. So the Basti practice you can easily do. Simply you can sit in the tub and you can do Ashwini Mudra, and you can inhale, you can, it is actually known as anal breathing, we can say. So you can imbibe some water and you can release, and it will clean all your colon. And also another thing known as Tal Basti, that is called as dry enema. Simply you can inhale air through the anus. So even so these are all the basic things I want to talk about kriyas. And there are another things known as mudras. See, mudras are nothing but gestures or some postures. See, these mudras, it is easy to practice. It does not require any serious practice or energy. It is easy to learn. You can practice these mudras. See, for example, Chin Mudra, Chinmaya Mudra, Adi Mudra, or Bhairava Mudra. Like that, you can practice. So these mudras, they will actually channelize the flow of energy. These mudras can be practiced along with the asana, pranayama, and also with meditation. And mudras are of various types. Hasta mudras means by using hand you can do. Mano mudra means you can do the mudras in your head, like this Shanmughi mudra, like that, or Nasagra mudra, like that. So this is about Mano mudras. Then Kaya mudras means with your body you can make like Viparita Karani. So these are all the Kaya mudras, Viparita Karani, and our famous Yoga mudra, it is one of the Kaya mudra. Next is Adhara mudra, which is the foundation. So the first Adhara mudra is Ashwini mudra. Ashwini mudra is nothing but you have to contract and relax the anus. You have to contract and relax the anus. Ashwini means horse, like the horse you can do. Next is Vajroli mudra. So you can contract the area in between the anus and the genitalia. So that is called as Vajrali mudra in men and Sahajali mudra in female. So these are all the basic mudras. And I want to say a few words about bandhas. See, bandhas are actually locks. So when you feel that some flow is in excess, you can put a block there. So that is called as bandha. See, we are using switch in our home. See, if we don't want electricity, we are switching off. And when we want electricity, we are switching on. So we can say bandha as a switchboard. Okay, so bandha means to hold. So it acts as the switchboard, and these bandhas are very, very helpful in spiritual awakening. There are three main types of bandhas. One is Moola bandha, that is anal lock. Next one is Uddiyana bandha, abdominal lock. Next is Jalandhara bandha or throat lock. When all the three combines, it is known as Mahabandha. So this is something in detail about that. And I want to speak a few words about yoga therapy. I will finish very fast. Okay. So, Sridevi ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. This is going to end in another. This is going to end in another 1 minute. The next session, when we log on, shall we open it up to the doubts?
Ma'am, I want to finish this yoga therapy within 5 to 10 minutes. Then we open for questions.
Okay.
Because yoga therapy also and homeopathy also within 2 to 3 minutes I will finish. Okay.
Yes. Okay. I'm disconnecting this, ma'am. We'll log on once again to know more about the homeopathy, and then interactive session leaving to the participants.
You also get feedback from them if they really wanted to have one more session.
They'll connect, ma'am. They are waiting for your session.
Okay, ma'am. Because I shouldn't bore them.